Today's video is 6 things that I wish I knew before going no contact with a parent. Hi, welcome to the Anti-Alienation Project. I'm Maddie and welcome to my channel. I talk about all things related to parental alienation. What is parental alienation? This is a type of child psychological abuse that happens when one parent manipulates their child to reject their other loving parent without true justification. I went through this for 20 years. I was made to believe lies, false accusations, and horror stories about my dad, which caused me to reject him for the next 20 years. I figured everything out about 2 years ago, and I've been on a journey to heal myself, speak out about this abuse, and reconnect with my dad. Today's video is 6 things that I wish I knew before going no contact with a parent. These are things from my personal life. I'm not a counselor or an expert, but let's just get into it. So now I've been no contact for about 2 years from my mom, and here are some lessons I wish I had known before going no contact, which might have made it a little bit easier for me to do so. Number 1, expect backlash. It's likely that you will get backlash from many people in your life, including friends, family members, even your parents' friends. You might get backlash from random people or strangers, people that you never expected to get backlash from. To be honest with you, in terms of who or how many people might give you backlash, hard time for cutting off one of your parents, the limit does not exist. I'm really sorry about that. That's just how I've found it, and after talking to a lot of other people who've been through this, it seems to still be a taboo to go no contact with a parent. Especially if it's public knowledge, there is a decent chance that people might not believe you when you tell them the reasons why you've made this decision. For example, if it has to do with abuse or neglect in your family, people not in your own family might not believe you. I hope that they do, and I hope that you get the support you need. But be prepared for the worst. Things that I've been told since I've gone no contact are, how could you do this to them? You're destroying them. You're a selfish daughter. A lot of encouragement for me to make amends rather than trying to understand what would cause a child to make such a last resort decision in the first place. Now, this is a really hard point to come to terms with, and I hope this isn't the case for you, but you might lose other relationships in your life that are really important and special to you. Especially if your parent is an alienator, there's a chance that they will just keep doing what they love to do best and alienate other people from you. Your parent might slander your name. Especially if they have a personality disorder, this tends to happen, especially if you expose a family secret. They might try to spread lies about you, gossip about you, and destroy your reputation so that if you speak out about what happened to you, no one will believe you because they've already been given this picture of who you are as a crazy person, pretty much. Not speaking from experience or anything. And my best tip to combat this is give yourself permission to do what's best for you anyway, regardless of anyone else's reaction. But the second thing I wish I had known before going no contact with a parent is that it is a grieving process, very similar to the grieving process that someone might undergo with a loss of one of their parents, a death of one of their parents. However, it is unique in that it is a type of disenfranchised grief, which is when you have a loss that's not openly acknowledged or socially recognized or publicly supported. There is no funeral, for example. There are no public mourning rituals. In fact, a lot of people don't want you to talk about it at all, even though you truly are grieving the person that you thought you knew and that you thought loved you. You might not receive any support from family or friends like you would for a death in the family. Even though the emotions you go through are the same emotions pretty much with a couple extra layers like betrayal that you would go through when mourning a death. Third tip that I wish I had known is that getting away physically is the first step because they'll probably still live in your head, at least for a while. Reprogramming your brain to get away from your parent is where the long, hard, important work comes in to play. That takes years, sometimes a lifetime. That's part of the reason why I really believe that it's important to have a good support system, like a therapist and a good group of friends, especially if you don't have the support of any family members. It can make a big difference to have people who understand the struggles you're going through. One tip to combat this is to identify your thoughts and your feelings versus your parents' thoughts in your head. And start to put their face to the thought and identify that it's not your own. My fourth tip, which I will admit I had some idea that this would be difficult, but I didn't understand how difficult, and that is to prepare for big events and holidays. Holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving will probably be extra emotional, especially the first couple years, in particular your first holiday season without your family member. Even if it's not negative because they're not there, even if it's a good day, it still might be emotional, especially if you spent every other holiday with them before. In addition, Mother's Day or Father's Day might also be a really difficult day for you moving forward, as well as your parents' birthday, and you might not expect this one, but your own birthday, because there's a chance that you might hear from that parent somehow, and there's a chance that you might not hear from that parent somehow, and either way, it's going to be hard. The best tip I have is to make an effort to be really kind to yourself and plan something fun for that day anyway. It's okay to cry. Even if you have a good day, it's okay to have moments where you're sad or angry. Enroll your support system, let them know that you might be having a difficult time. My fifth tip that I wish I had known before going into contact with a family member is you will enjoy a lot of positive effects. I stand by this wholeheartedly, that life free from abuse is better than life with your abuser. It's more worth living, it's more light, it's more funny, it's more hopeful and exciting. I predict that if you go into contact with a toxic family member, some of those effects that you will notice are positive, and you will likely notice this to happen on a natural progression. Odd effects might start to occur weeks or months after you've started the no contact period. For me, the first effect I noticed was this natural desire to start taking better care of myself, to start taking better care of exercising my body and eating the right foods. I also started to notice after a few months that I would experience joy and be able to let myself experience that. Before if I ever felt moments of joy or happiness, I would quickly shut it out and wouldn't let myself have those feelings. And most importantly, I started to believe for the first time in decades that I do deserve a life worth living. I deserve happiness. So you might start to feel free. You might start to resume old hobbies or passions that you had stopped pursuing. You might begin to feel like yourself again. And other people might notice this. Other people might remark on the change in you. It certainly happened to me with almost everyone in my life, which was good. It was validating. It made me feel like, oh wow, I am on the right path, even if it's really hard sometimes. You might begin to work towards new ambitions or set goals again. It will be pretty obvious after maybe 6 months to a year that you've made some changes in your life, and people will notice how well you're doing. My final tip, my sixth tip that I wish I had known before going into contact with a parent is that you don't owe anyone an explanation. Especially towards the beginning of this whole estrangement, I found myself trying to explain to people, especially people in my life that I love and care about. I started to explain why I made this decision. I wanted them to understand and respect my decision, especially if they were giving me a hard time about it in the first place. Now, 2 years later, I've learned that I don't need to do that. As long as I know that I'm making the right decision for me and my family, I'm good. And I don't owe anyone an explanation, and neither do you. So if you find yourselves explaining to a lot of people why you've made this decision, just stop and think about it for a minute and think about whether or not they really deserve to know, whether they need to know. Because you are allowed to make whatever decision you need to make for you. And it's okay if other people don't understand. That's all for this video. Sweet and short, to the point, but I hope that this helps someone who's going through this. It's an extremely painful process to lose a parent, even when you've had to make that decision yourself. Know that time really does help everything, even though it's not a linear process. Over time, the emotions seem to get less frequent and less intense. To anyone going through this, my heart really does go out to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.